Well, let me tell you something. I don't know the Puerto Rican that I know, or Puerto Rico where I'm in my home state of Delaware. They're good, decent, honorable people. The only garbage I see floating out there is just supporters.
And she was taking me out to lunch because they were trying to recruit me. And so we do it on the firm's dime. So it wasn't that hard. I, I asked her out after knowing her about 2 weeks. And she's all like, no, I can't because I'm your supervisor. I said, you're not supervising anything. I said, you know what? I'll quit my job and then you go out with me.
There we go.
And she said, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm tired. I'm not concentrating on men right now anyway because y'all are trifling.
I find it interesting that in the last couple of days, we had two different presidents make a kind of social gaffe. One where the president outright said that some of the supporters are garbage. And you see that Donald Trump is capitalizing on that because he is the ultimate troll. Although I can't really say I support him, it's interesting as heck.
How do you like my garbage truck?
Hey. USA!
The other gaffe, in my opinion, is when Barack Obama made this statement when he was dating his wife that she said that men are trifling in a sort of cavalier fashion.
And she said, no, I'm not doing that. You know, I'm tired. I'm not concentrating on men right now anyway because y'all are trifling.
What is the craziest or most dangerous thing you'd do for love?
I'm not doing nothing for these guys.
Have you ever thought about why a majority of men just blatantly suck?
But when men were asked a similar question, do we need women? Most of them said yes. So why do you think that is?
Because men are useless.
It looks like for the first time ever, there's a really big divide for young men and young women, and by young I mean ages 18 to 29, in terms of who they're voting for. Historically, young people lean a bit more left, and the difference you see between men and women isn't that stark. But now there's this very stark divide, and the reason is because young women have gone so much more far to the left. And so in this discussion, they're wondering what's causing this shift.
Salute to Jermaine Jackson, the author of the smash hit Dynamite. Okay, maybe it wasn't a smash hit, but for the third or fourth most successful Jackson, he did pretty okay with his career. But unknowingly, he or people named Jermaine became a kind of meme for the space because it's always Jermaine's fault. And it doesn't really matter what happens in the black community specifically, but now you're starting to see on a wider level, no matter what happens, it's going to be Jermaine's fault. And because of this, I think that there are areas of people that are speaking in a manner where the default answer is, if there's something wrong, then the fault belongs to men.
One of the things that has changed is more rigorous academic standards earlier on in the classroom, and how this benefits young girls because girls develop their executive functioning earlier on than boys do. So they have been excelling in schools at an earlier age. And you can see that now because this has been going on for many, many years, and more women with higher education, more women, entering the job force with higher levels of salary. Like they're just like all these little proof points that like women essentially are outpacing men.
What's interesting to me about what this young lady is saying, she is responding to an editorial piece from the New York Times that was actually a podcast where they're talking about how young men are becoming more conservative and leaning towards Donald Trump, and young ladies are leaning more liberal. And what's interesting is that the conversation has moved away from just black men not being good enough, not being good fathers, not achieving in the classroom, the Jermaine meme, if you will. But now it's getting extended to a wider group of men, essentially all men. And so when she's speaking about men not keeping up in the classroom, she's casting what normally was reserved for black men to all men. And it's a very interesting thing to see because I think it is this bubble, this kind of speak that the former two presidents have been in that made them so comfortable to say the things that they said early in this video.
And I'm sorry, again, usually I try to have my thoughts more together on this, but it feels so much like the framing of this episode is, oh no, we're leaving our young men behind. Woe is them, they're being left behind. Like the classroom and the jobs and the blah, 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 blah. And I don't understand why the framing isn't about how the patriarchy has failed us all, men included. To me, that's the only story. The patriarchy has told these men that no matter what, you get to live your dream life and you get to have dominion over women. And as women have advanced by the skin of our teeth, we have realized we don't want that. And your mediocre isn't enough for us. And so we're going to go do what we have to do on our own. And we don't have time for
the biggest blind spot I've seen in this particular election cycle is that the liberal leaning people that are running for president kind of made this assumption that all men are quote unquote Jermaine. And they're kind of moving in a way where they're saying basically, if you don't understand or agree with our way of looking at all of this stuff, then you're basically Jermaine, which in a way works in the black community because, again, black men are told you're not good enough, you haven't built Wakanda, you don't raise your kids, you're the worst father, all that other stuff. But when you start saying that to men at large and you're telling all men that they're Jermaine, it doesn't really jive as well. And this kind of language is falling on the wrong types of ears that have not gotten used to hearing this.
Garbage.
Very horrible.
Yeah. Personally, what did that mean to you?
I felt disrespected.
And if the patriarchy hadn't taught you that you get whatever you want, no matter what, then you'd be working hard for it too, but you're not. And that's why you're voting for Trump.
I ain't gonna hold y'all.
One of the criticisms of black male passport travelers, blue book gentlemen, passport bros, etc., is that black men are going overseas to specifically exploit young ladies who don't make as much money. But as black men, we understand that if we do something illegal at home or overseas, we're going to be the first ones in jail. So I would tell you on personal experience, we're going to be the ones that are going to be the most reticent to participate in such activities. But as we're seeing in the atmosphere in the West now, there's a general term to just men are not adequate, men are deficient, the patriarchy ruined everything, and this new atmosphere now is one that men should kind of adapt to. And what is interesting to see is that when you cast some of that stuff on black men, we're probably the most egalitarian, accepting men on the planet, so we can handle it. But you saw the white gentleman, he couldn't. This is one of the underlying drivers for passport bros in the first place. Guys don't want to go places so they can exploit women. They want to go somewhere where they can find a woman that's going to respect them. And you're going to hear these Nigerian ladies talk about how when they go to Korea and the guys in Nigeria, you're going to hear them say some disparaging words about Nigerian men. Those Nigerian men are finding exactly what they're looking for in Korea.
So an average Korean woman, let me let you know something. In the diaspora of Nigerians here, majority of the men are married to Koreans.
Are they?
Yes, they're married to Koreans. And these Korean women, gorgeous, there's nothing having to do with, you will see the ugliest, Korean men are handsome. You will see the ugliest Nigerian man.
Why?
And that woman has agreed to marry him. Why?
Yeah.
Because he is a provider and a protector. Pay these bills. And these women, you said the Korean women, what if they don't? They drop 2-3 children for a Nigerian man. Then how much more for Korean men? What the problem is we're having, or not me, because what I observe is that it's a man problem.
Shout out to Officer Charles Faulkner. He has a saying that goes, black men are the garbage men of the dating world, in that we accept things that men of most other communities would not, in terms of dating or keeping a family together, keeping a relationship going, etc. You could see with the white gentleman that was with Vivek Ramaswamy, he's not used to being disrespected, even though he works as a trash man, a garbage man. And when someone in an elevated position, man or woman, casts aspersions down on him, he's like, hey, I'm not here for that. And for guys like us that are black men that are looking to go overseas, we're not really looking to go overseas to try and find a young woman to dominate. We're going overseas to look for someone that respects us, someone that will appreciate what we bring to the table. If you're bringing something to the table and you're still being told that you need to pull yourself by your own bootstraps, you are an oppressive patriarch, you need to do more than just whatever you've been told, then for a growing group of black men, it's I'd like to go somewhere else. But now we're seeing in this election that for a growing group of men, young men included, they just don't want to play this game. If that's going to be the game, I'll sit down, I'll sit it out, or I'll go over to the guys that don't want to play this game with us. It's a very interesting thing to see because however much feminism and all of the progression of women has done, what is clear is that there's not really any room in any of this to say some of the guys in the system have fallen by the wayside or they need some help. And if they did, instead of stepping on them or looking down on them, maybe we should extend a helping hand to them. If that's not going to be there, then you're going to have some people, as we say, blowing on a small kindling, if you will, when things start getting warm. And I think that's exactly what we're seeing. Some guys are choosing to do it one way with voting a certain way, and other guys are choosing to do it a different way by going somewhere where they'll be respected. Either way, what is clear is that a growing number of guys are saying, there's no place in the system for me besides being someone who contributes resources and doesn't get respect. And for a growing number of men, that's just not enough. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below. Catch you next video. Take care.